The news often operates with blinders. News agencies focus really tightly on one thing, stripping it of context, everything else going on around it. So you can't really understand it. That is very much the case with what I'm digging into today. It is the second anniversary of the October 7th massacres. You might be surprised to learn that this episode will start with the Yazidis, a minority group in Iraq you might be unfamiliar with. You'll hear why ahead. The October 7th attacks were not just a story of two parties, but that is what you would think from the coverage. To understand it, you need to know a lot that the news doesn't talk about. I'll tell you about the deadliest terror attacks per capita and what's happening now inside nations like the United States, European countries, and Australia. All of that is context. Then I'll introduce you to some folks, survivors of the October 7th massacres. They'll tell you what it was like to be on the inside as hell unfolded.
I was sure that I'm dead, dying, that they succeed to kill me. I don't really understand what's happening. And I talk with God, like, this is really happening.
You'll hear from a saxophonist who, well, I won't even say now. We'll get there. And you'll learn who these folks were. Peaceniks who kept doing so much to try to help people of Gaza. In fact, that morning was a big annual effort led by one family in a small community.
And they were really peacemakers, and they killed all of them, the father, the mother, the 3 children.
This is not just a story of terror, mass rape, and mass killing. It's also a story of bicycles, musical instruments, kites, compassion, hope, survival. And none of it is as far away as it may seem, because everything these folks faced that day, the forces behind it, everything that led to it, it's all spreading around the world. To do anything about it, we have to understand it. That's coming up today on They Stand Corrected. Hello and welcome. So good to have you here. I'm Josh Lebs, and this is my podcast, They Stand Corrected, which fact-checks the news. We have a lot to dig into today, so I'm going to keep this part at the top really short. You can learn about me and my background in journalism at my website, joshlebs.com, JOSHLEVS.com. I am so grateful to everyone making this show possible, especially those who support it by becoming paid subscribers to the newsletter. I always try to get in at least one note from a supporter. So let's see. The latest one here comes from Tanisha T. She writes, "Thank you for what you're doing, Josh. Fair, balanced, fact-checking journalism is missing in our society. You are to be applauded for providing unbiased news to educate people. No matter our backgrounds or affiliation, we should seek the truth and clothe ourselves in common sense and humanity in all situations." Wow, I really like that imagery. Thanks, Tanisha. I learned so much from you all. Your questions and comments help me shape every episode. This show has had episodes on memetic warfare and the brand Connectome. If you haven't heard those, I encourage you to go back and check them out. The news has a big impact on how we process information. And when it gives us a limited perspective, we start to see things through that limited perspective, that tunnel vision. We need to take the blinders off and look at a much bigger picture. That's how we can learn in new ways. And the things that I'm sharing with you here, most journalists don't know because it's not part of the journalistic system, unfortunately, that people should have to get educated about the big picture on anything they cover. Anyone can come along and start doing journalism inside a news organization as long as they repeat the same processes, language, and format that's been done thousands of times before. Getting a new perspective requires doing something different. So I am starting today with this.
This is Sinjar in northern Iraq. The world watched in horror when Islamic State swept through here in 2014 on a campaign of genocide. Their target, members of the ancient religious minority, the Yazidis.
That's the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. Note that they had no trouble calling what the Islamic State did a genocide, and they spoke with survivors of that massacre.
One of those survivors is 20-year-old Sarab. She was just 11 when she was taken by ISIS and sold as a slave. She was held captive for 5.5 years and was passed between 6 different men. When she was 13, she alleges she was given to an Australian.
This network spoke with that Australian man. He tried to claim that this girl was held by his son. The reporter asks him whether she was a sex slave.
It was more like a helper, yani. Oh, look, we treated her like a daughter, yani, anyway. So it's nothing, it was nothing.
It was nothing, just a sex slave. They then checked with the girl, and she said no, she was owned by that guy and was his sex slave. And when the network went back to him, he then claimed that he never met her. The same girl he had just claimed was treated as a daughter. He is in Australia. This stuff, the evils that come from genocidal Islamist groups, they are spreading all over the world. In a couple of episodes, I've told you about Islamist attacks on Christians in Africa. You wouldn't know about those from the big mainstream media. But you know what network has been doing a good job on that? CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network. Here's a clip I shared in episode 67.
The way they kill our people is in the most horrific, the most gruesome, the most cruel manner anyone could ever think. It will make even the devil to shiver. When they come around, you run into your hut, into your house. They will now cycle the house with fear. They will lit fire on the house. And then when you are coming out, they will now hack you down with machete. So they're cutting you as if they are cutting a piece of wood. Not as if they are killing a wild animal. You don't even kill a wild animal that way. So they'll bust your brains with machete and you see spillage of brains. I believe you've seen some of these very horrific pictures. They are so graphic. I have hundreds of them in my phone right now. These are my siblings. These are my cousins.
Islamist terrorism is on the rise. The numbers prove it. But you might hear that and think, wait, isn't it different though? Because in Israel, we're talking about occupation. Well, in episode 1, I explained that the term occupied territories is a lie and makes no sense. But let's go back to the Yazidis. Islamists have launched lots of genocidal attacks on Yazidis over the years. They claim that the Yazidis are occupying the Sinjar Mountains, even though it's been the home base of the Yazidis for centuries. And Islamists have attacked them, going back to the 13th century, and at times taken over parts of the Sinjar Mountains. It's far more similar than you think. But the Yazidis don't have a military like Israel's to fight back. Neither do Christians in Africa. There is no understanding October 7th and the war ever since without understanding that. See, if a rational alien landed here on Earth and saw what humanity has done for millennia, the alien would say, so there have been all these wars in which all these groups of humans, these empires have gone around overtaking lots of land, and the Arab Islamic Empire took over tons of land, and that is how so much of humanity came to live in what's called Islamized nations, and in many cases also Arabized nations. That the people of Judea managed to get back control of this one tiny dot where they come from. Okay. See, the idea that it's in any way remotely controversial for Am Yisrael, the people of Israel, to manage to regain control of Israel makes no rational sense. Every part of Earth has had wars and dispossession, all of them. If you're new to this show, you should know I've also reported on how way more Jewish people lost everything in hellish pogroms in Arab and Muslim nations in the 20th century. None of them are demanding anything back. And the huge Arab nations that surround Israel were created out of the exact same act of decolonization in the 20th century. That's not an opinion. That's just literally what happened. I did an episode about that as well. But do you see how iconoclastic it is to say that Israel's existence shouldn't be controversial? Iconoclastic might be too fancy a word. So different to say that. Why? Why is it so different to say that? Because our subconscious minds have been flooded with the idea that Israel should be controversial for decades, and no information about where all these other countries came from. This is context. The world has separate rules for Jewish people. When Jews fight back, how dare you? A Yazidi survivor got a Nobel Peace Prize for speaking out about the sexual assaults that were carried out by Islamists. Israel gets shunned and attacked for even talking about the sexual assaults carried out by Islamists. I spoke to a UN Women event years ago. You can see the video of that in the newsletter. I had done some work with them. And then after the mass sexual assault of October 7th, they were silent for so long. And a lot of people take that for granted. Like, oh, of course, it's controversial. Why? Journalists need to think like rational aliens. Anyway, all of this is context. So is this. The people of Gaza have been gifted tens of billions of dollars over the years, which they could have used to build thriving societies. Gaza has probably the easiest brand in the world to sell anything. I mean, if people in Gaza grew lettuce and sold it around the world, Greta Thunberg and other crazy people would be like, this is the world's best tasting lettuce. Buy it. But there is a cycle in which young people are raised to be Islamist terrorists. This keeps happening. And Israel's position is stop trying to wipe us off the map. Stop trying to kill all of us. Big picture, that's what's going on. Okay. With this in mind, it's time to zoom from way out to way in, down to the individual level. Because October 7th was an experience of individual people multiplied by thousands. A note as we go into this. I learned long ago to compartmentalize. I've talked about this on the show. I did something in journalism that I don't know whether anyone else has done because I was fact-checking and looking for missing stories and therefore exposing myself to the worst things that humanity was doing. And I learned how to live with belief in humanity while also hearing horrible things. But after I visited southern Israel and went to these places I'm about to bring you to, I found myself hating humanity. The fact that humans are capable of doing this to other humans. And that should be something we all hate. It's what Planet of the Apes was about. They turned out to be right in what they were saying was wrong with humans. But you'll also hear why the beauty of humanity shines through as well. There is simultaneously so much to love about humanity, and I will bring that to you on the other side as well. Join me for this. It's all about truth. Coming up.
And now I'm pleased to introduce our speaker today, Josh Levs.
We are blessed to be able to have a speaker this evening who speaks with a lot of heart.
An outstanding author, a principled and groundbreaking journalist, a really engaging speaker and thinker.
Broadcaster, journalist, and host of They Stand Corrected, the podcast fact-checking the news. Thank goodness.
Josh spent 20 years reporting for NPR and CNN, where he developed unique expertise on nonpartisan fact-checking. He has been called Truth Seeker in Chief.
Josh has won multiple Peabody Awards, Murrow Awards,
and awards from the AP, from the Society of Professional Journalists, the National Association of Black Journalists, and more.
His book, All In, was published by HarperCollins and won the Nautilus Gold Award for promoting positive social change. He has spoken to the United Nations, Congress, Google.
And of course, I think is very cool, won a debate at Oxford.
He launched his podcast and newsletter called They Stand Corrected to provide listeners with the truth in a world of disinformation.
Clearly, he is a much-needed voice during these crazy times.
It's my pleasure to introduce Josh Levs to you today.
Please welcome.
Please join me in welcoming Josh Levs.
I love getting out there and meeting people like you. It's such a great opportunity to answer your questions and discover more about listeners to this show and potential listeners too. If you're interested in working out something in person or online, there's a form at my website, joshlevs.com. That's JOSHLEVS.com. You'll find a link in the show notes. Just click bookings. Kibbutz Kfar Aza was a beautiful community in southern Israel, close to the border with Gaza. Through hard work and science, people built this thriving area in the desert. People live simple lives together. There were about 1,000 people living here.
It's like a big, big family.
That's Ronit Ifergan. She's a filmmaker and cinematographer.
You know, it's not only members of the kibbutz. We are really family, big family.
Kibbutzim are like little villages. They played a huge role in building modern Israel on what was, contrary to popular lies, unpopulated barren land. Now, very few Israelis live in setups like this, but the folks who do are overwhelmingly peaceniks. That's a big reason many live down here. They're focused on building connections with people in Gaza and trying to help them in various ways. Despite the Islamist fascist restrictions that Hamas has over Gaza, folks in this community have managed to meet up with some Gazans. For example, Ronit met with some who want to do journalism.
Some of them we met in Egypt, some of them we met only in Zoom, and one of them came here, now she is in Canada. All of them really hate Hamas. Also, they were in prison of Hamas because they understand what is wrong there.
It's crucial to understand that when people like those young journalists get killed by Hamas or face threats from Hamas, they're not just getting those threats from older people. They're getting those threats from people their age who were indoctrinated and carrying out Hamas aims. Despite everything given to Gaza, there are permanent claims that Gaza has been so impoverished, as though it's some sort of inherent helplessness. People try to help them. This kibbutz has managed to send a bunch of things to people in Gaza.
Gather from Israel tools of music, also piano, big piano, and we brought it into Gaza for school. So we do so many things. We also take bicycles. We thought maybe the children will be happy, family will be happy, and decided to play music. This is what we thought. We were really naive.
Really naive, she says. October 7th, 2023 was the date of an annual kite festival. Adults and kids on this kibbutz every year made these really high kites to try to send signals of peace and love to people in Gaza.
Everyone is handmaking the kites, and we believe all the time that in Gaza they saw it and they said, oh, they thought about this. This is what we thought. And the people, the family that's supposed to produce this festival of kites every year, they were making many large kites, and they were really peacemakers, and they killed all of them, the father, the mother, the 3 children.
The terrorists who came in that day killed that family, along with lots of other people. In total, in southern Israel, around 1,200 people were killed that day, and hundreds more were taken hostage.
This is the neighborhood that most of the young people were living here. It's like a small houses, and they have like 2 rooms, and most of them was kidnapped or killed. You see, they burn everything.
There have been attacks in the area in the past, and there are safe rooms and weapons nearby. But in this case, hundreds of terrorists came in. They had mapped out the kibbutzes in advance, and when people went into the safe rooms, they set fire to them so that people would have to leave, and then they killed them. That's not the only way that they got people to come out of hiding. These terrorists went around shooting people, spraying bullets everywhere. This entire place is riddled with big bullet holes. And they used a baby after killing its parents.
They saw the baby crying, and they said, this is do destruction for us. And they stay around, and everyone that heard the baby crying want to get in, they get a shot. This is what they do for hours until after, I think, 22 hours without no something to eat, to drink, to cry. They pipe at all these 22 hours.
There was nothing people could do because they realized that everyone who went to help that screaming, crying baby got killed. These terrorists were not necessarily officially with Hamas. These are what the media calls Gazan civilians. They came in too and carried out horrific acts. Because in Gaza, people are raised to believe that doing this is a good thing. A bunch of people were also kidnapped from this kibbutz. Some of them were killed. Those who were released in exchanges in which Israel had to give up terrorists to get these folks back, some of them were able to tell their stories. Ronit tells us about one woman.
She was raped inside Gaza, and there is a video that you can see that she really fights the terrorists when they took her. She really trying to fight them. It was like, I think, 10 men, and she was alone.
I was with a group of folks on this visit. We met a woman named Einat Bonace. She survived only because the terrorists didn't realize that she and her son were home. He hadn't parked his car near her home. So when the terrorists arrived early in the morning, they thought no one was in that home.
Was screaming in Arabic, Allah Akbar, and all the time. Our dog was amazing. She was on top of us. Didn't bark. It's very small. And then I text in the WhatsApp that there is terrorists on my roof. They sent soldier and was like and fires after they found the 2 terrorists in my backyard.
While there are these survivors, there are obviously unimaginable stories of loss. Ronit tells us about one man.
There's a father that from this neighborhood that sacrificed his son's head for twins. Oh my God.
He was looking for his son's head. How old was his son?
23, digging like all these areas. Came with volunteers.
He wants to bury his son's head along with the rest of his body, but it's not there, no matter how much he and volunteers have looked. Why might that be? Because, and I know this isn't easy to hear, Palestinian terrorists took body parts with them as trophies. In an earlier episode, I played you sound from a young terrorist who called his parents to say how proud they should be that he just killed Jews. And both his parents got on the phone and they were crying with pride and joy, saying they're so happy and so proud of him. This is reality. Body parts as trophies. Witnesses from October 7th described, deep breath, women's breasts being cut off as trophies. Sometimes what was done to these folks happened while they were still alive. Sometimes while they were being raped. There is only one side in this that actually dehumanizes the other. Dehumanizes, literally. I also met a man named Erez Yatzkan. He is a saxophonist.
Yes, I was in the safe room. I was with my daughter and wife, and I was holding the handle of the safe room door. They shoot bullets through the door, so some of them hit my hand, but I didn't left the handle. And then they put some massive explosive on the door, and it exploded and damaged my hands, create a hole in the door. Luckily, the door kept locked, so they could only shoot through the hole. And then they left, and I was on the floor leaving, and my wife and my daughter put something to hold my blood.
His hands, the entire lower part of his arms, were blown off. I have photos and videos to share with you in the newsletter from all of this. I'm not planning on putting the graphic photo of him in that moment there. I don't want someone who just opens the newsletter to automatically see it. But those of you who want to, it is inside a video from the hospital, and you'll be able to see it inside there if you want. I'll explain all this in the newsletter. When I met him, he had already had 12 surgeries and was planning to have more. So he has what are sort of like hands now.
They took a muscle from my back, and then they took bones from my legs. And
To build a hand.
to build the hands, yes. This is for my leg.
Erez is determined to play the saxophone again. People have been working to build ones that he can use. When he does, I will bring you him playing music. That is something of a sign of hope, and there are others. People have come to Kfar Asa to help rebuild.
Really helped me to believe in people, because came volunteers from not only from Israel, from all over the countries, and they came for a month to help fixing. Also ministers.
Were there some Muslim people among them?
Yes,
I'm guessing there were.
also, yeah.
Of course there were. Remember, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Muslim does not automatically mean Islamist. We also visited another site. I know this is emotionally heavy, so let's take a quick break, and I will bring you to Nova. A lot of people want to know what they can do to help. There is a group of heroes from all backgrounds, religions, etc., who saved lives on October 7th and continue to work together to save lives every day. And all they're asking of you is to sign up to get their updates so you know about them. They have partnered with me for a limited time. If you go to the show notes or the newsletter, you will see the link to use. Click that link, sign up, and in addition to learning about these heroes, men and women, Jewish, Arab, Christian, Muslim, Baha'i, everything, you will simultaneously be helping this show. Also, share the link with everyone you've ever met. Let's celebrate heroes and see these positive stories together. You've probably heard the term killing field. Have you ever been to one? I have. It's the site of the Nova Music Festival. About 4,000 people were there at this site, basically in the desert, the Negev. That might not sound huge to you, but in Israel, 4,000 people is massive. It's a tiny country. To give you the right picture here, imagine a packed field of thousands of ridiculously beautiful people of every skin color, by the way, every religion, every sexual category, everything that humanity currently separates ourselves into. There are always different ones in different generations. Gazan Palestinian terrorists, backed by Iran, decided that this was another place they should go to rape and butcher people in the largest numbers possible. When you go there now, you see photos of these young people on these stands across the field. Photos of them when they were alive and happy and celebrating life and dancing together. So I am sharing a bunch of those with you in the newsletter. Here we met a survivor.
So my name is Mazal Tazazo. I'm 35. I have a son, 10 years old. He is all my power. For him is everything, I have to say. And I am a student to architect and interior design. My parents come from Ethiopia in 84, and I born in Israel and raised growing up in Israel all my life.
That's Mazal Tazazo. She says when the terrorists descended on the festival, it was so extreme. There were so many of them that the guards there could barely respond. So basically all the gunfire was coming from the terrorists.
That don't end. Like they shooting everywhere. Only the terrorists with automatically weapon and don't stop.
She and other people ran, but there was nowhere safe to run to.
I don't know if the bullet gonna hit me. And I saw legs of people running, and I hear the scream, and all the people that hiding under the cars, nobody survived. Nobody. We start to hear the voice of the Arabic scream also. Can I get the back of the weapon to my head? And I begged him to God to please make it stop, please make it stop.
One of the attackers slammed her in the back of the head with the butt of a rifle. This could have been something they did to a lot of people to knock them to the ground and then shoot them. The terrorists shot and killed her two friends who were right next to her. She played dead in this pile of bodies.
I feel again, someone come close to me. I'm sure this is terrorist. I never know what is really scared until this moment.
She held her breath. Later, Mazal would figure out that she had an injury on the back of her head from what the terrorist had done, and she had blood all over her back, and she was wearing a white t-shirt, so all that blood was really obvious. So the terrorists must have thought that she was dead.
Play dead, and another terrorist come. They start to talk with each other in Arabic, and one of them come close to me. So I hold my breath, and he come look at me, I guess, and they go. I was sure that I'm dead, dying, that they succeed to kill me. I don't really understand what's happening. And I talk with God, this is really happening. Terrorist was here. I'm dying right now. This is not real. This is illusion. And I lose my conscience.
Mazal passed out a couple of times. At one point, when she woke up, she discovered that terrorists were setting fire to everything. She got up. She and others started running. They tried to hide places and abandoned cars at one point, and then terrorists came over there and were setting fire there. But eventually she made it to another car that they didn't burn. She and some other wounded people started helping each other. All of this while the gunfire and burning and raping continued for hours. There were so many attackers, and this tiny country was under attack in so many places at once. These terrorists backed by Iran had launched thousands of rockets and these invasions into the country and were attacking in multiple places. Around the world, people don't know what happened that day, even though the terrorists were proud of it and took their own videos and showed off about it. Starting that same day, there were lies all over social media and elsewhere that either made the people who were attacked the villains of the story, or that pretended this whole thing was some sort of false flag operation by Israel. Mazal has to keep telling people what she experienced over and over, and they're always shocked. Why is that? Because they don't know, because the media isn't telling the story. Sure, there was some coverage, but it has been buried under whatever the latest anti-Israel screed is. The United States launched the so-called war on terrorism after 9/11. I've reported this here. By one estimate, between 4.5 and 4.7 million people were killed. That did not prevent the U.S. media from digging into details frequently about what happened on 9/11. Israel fought back after October 7th, and the entire narrative, starting literally right then, is big bad Israel, and soon it became genocide, blah, blah, blah. I've done episodes about that, by the way. It's obviously not a genocide. This is insane. Mazal says she never sees the reality of October 7th reflected in the news coverage.
They put picture of dead people in Gaza. Why do don't see picture of the kids that they run in the perish? Why do don't see the video of the body of the woman like an animal and she burned? It took time to understand that what my eyes see is like person. They do things that humans don't do.
What she's describing there is an image from October 7th, which she and other people who saw it didn't even understand at first that this was a human being because of what the terrorists had done to her. But it's not just that Mazal and others need to tell their story so often because of the media's failures. It's worse than that. She and others try to tell their stories and are rejected, cursed even. When she visits South Africa, where she spent a bunch of time, this happens. When she visited America, there were some colleges that refused to allow her to come speak because something Israeli propaganda. Here's what she says people say to her.
Fuck you and curse me, like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, talk to me, let's talk. Like, I also don't want a kid dead, but war is very hard thing. When we try to explain why it's happening, and we as the really responsible about that their government that don't care, that use them and everything, they stop to answer, they stop to talk, because if they believe me, they have to change their everything, and they project how do you say about that we are a racist country if is a fact that here in Israel everybody live together, Jew, Muslim, black, white, Christian. It's not about the Palestinians. We don't have problem with the Palestinians. We have problem with people that want to see us dead, not only dead and suffer. And this is what makes me scared, because I don't want to live in this kind of world that person can come and rape me, and people said, no, it's because you take her land, so it's okay. No. If he come and do something to me, I want to go to the jail. Very easy. So I think this is the mind that everybody needs to have. And if you are a little person that don't make decision, if you want to hate me, okay, do it. It's your problem. But if you hate me and hurt me, here we are in a problem, and I don't want that, because I want my son live in a safe place.
She was wearing a T-shirt that says, "Reclaim the truth."
I love your shirt. That's what you're doing. You're reclaiming the truth.
Yeah. And we show the world, but a lot of people come like you. So it's give me hope. You have to fight. It's not about the land. It's really about something human. Like, it's very scary. This group, they're gonna control all the world.
On this trip, most of the people were not Jewish. One of the awesome people on this trip was Eric Geralt, who has a podcast called In and Out.
What I think is important for people to see, because it's extremely eye-opening for me, because I have a daughter. Her name is India. She's 23 years old. She has the exact same skin complexion as you, exact same hair type. And you could be my daughter. You know, when I see someone that looks like you and speaks like you, and to hear what you went through. And I don't think most people truly understand that. Most people in America.
Yeah, I know, but someday they're gonna understand what is a lie and what is true.
Unfortunately, that will have to happen despite today's media, not through today's media. We can fight to change this. That's coming up. Plus, this is so Israel, the place we went to after Nova on this visit, where the focus was on compassion for people in Gaza. Time to zoom back out. In terms of raw numbers, the October 7th terrorist attacks had the third largest number of fatalities of any terrorist attack this century. The most was 9/11, carried out by al-Qaeda, then an attack in Tikrit, Iraq, by ISIS in 2014, and then this one by Hamas and other Gazan terrorists. Per capita, though, the October 7th massacres were the biggest by far, followed by Tikrit, and then the bombing of a hotel in Somalia by al-Shabaab in 2017. All these groups are Islamist. The Center for Strategic and International Studies has a chart. I'll put it in the newsletter. To understand how today's media have blown it, look at how the media has failed to convey the October 7th reality and compare that to January 6th, 2021, a violent insurrection at the Capitol. To the mainstream media, there is no both sidesing January 6th. Anyone who tries to justify what happened that day is called out and excoriated. The mainstream media is happy to tell you how awful it is that Trump pardoned these folks. When it comes to right-wing hate movements in general, the mainstream media has no room for both sidesing. And these organizations slam right-wing media for downplaying January 6th. And before that, look at Trump's remarks after the Charlottesville Nazi rally. He did engage in both sidesism in his response, and the media went on and on about how wrong that was, his lack of moral clarity. Meanwhile, the mainstream media is 100% fine with people who not only both sides, but even praise the October 7th massacres. Just the other day, the New York Times did yet another profile of the vile streamer guy I reported about. His name is Hassan Piker. The Daily Show has played him up, too, as this great chance for Democrats to win back the so-called manosphere. And they don't ask him about or care that he has praised October 7th and said he does not care about rapes carried out that day. He says this stuff repeatedly. In New York City, the leading mayoral candidate, Zohran Mamdani, refuses to specifically condemn Hamas for October 7th. He straight up both sides it, saying he doesn't like to see deaths on both sides. He did that right after the October 7th attacks. Democrats in New York are fine with it. That is what left-wing radicalization looks like. This is it. It's happening right now. The other day, on the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur, an Islamist terrorist attacked Jewish people outside a synagogue in Manchester, England. First, he plowed his vehicle into them. That's the same thing an Islamist terrorist did in New Orleans on New Year's Eve, killing 14 people. But in Manchester, the terrorist didn't manage to kill people with a car, so he got out and started stabbing them. As I record this, 2 victims were killed, several were wounded. It seems one of the deaths may have been mistakenly by a police officer trying to stop the attacker, but all the deaths are on this terrorist, who was also killed by police. Manchester is the site where an Islamist terrorist killed 22 people at an Ariana Grande concert in 2017. And that was one of several Islamist attacks in the UK that year alone. Back in 2005, in London, Islamist terrorists killed 55 people. Yet since then, the UK government has continued to coddle violent, pro-Islamist terror rioters and welcome more into the country. The UK government just recently rewarded Hamas by, quote-unquote, recognizing a Palestinian state. Any kid who ever learned basic ideas that you should not be rewarded for bad behavior can see how insane it is to reward Hamas. This is radicalization. Here in the United States, for 2 years, people have been carrying out these pro-terror rallies. Yes, they are pro-terror. They are pushing messages written by Islamist terrorist groups, literally. That is where these lines come from. All of them based on lies. These folks are not anti-war. There are other wars going on right now with much bigger death tolls, and they don't care at all. And if you're thinking, wait a second, no, it's about giving money to Israel, I will tell you, I've covered that in previous episodes. The United States gives money to a bunch of countries, including military assistance, and there's no proportional coverage or anger or anything based on that. When the media calls these folks anti-war, it is lying to you. And here's where we get back to the people I met. In southern Israel, they have done more to try to help Gazans than all those crazy people on college campuses and other rioters. Way more to help Gazans than the people who control Gaza. The woman you heard from earlier on the kibbutz, Ronit, she also worked with a team of filmmakers in Gaza for years to try to help them grow an industry. And another filmmaker on the kibbutz was all set to visit Georgia, the state I live in, for a film festival. His name, Yahav Winner. He made a short film called The Boy that was all about heartbreak for people in Gaza amid war. After our visit to the kibbutz and Nova, we were taken to a film school in southern Israel, Sapir College. And this should go without saying, but just in case it doesn't, there were, of course, Muslim students there, dressed in traditional garb, head to toe. At schools and across Israel, people work together. We were brought to a screening of this film by Yahav Winner. He was killed on October 7th. When the terrorists attacked, one of them burst their arm through the window at his family's home in this kibbutz in an attempt to kill Yahav and his wife and daughter. Yahav realized that the whole family couldn't survive, so he motioned for his disabled wife to try to get their sleeping daughter out of the kibbutz and for them to get to safety while he went out and fought them, knowing he would be killed, which he was. In an earlier episode of this show, I discussed how the U.S. media called October 7th a military operation. It wasn't, by definition. It was a terrorist massacre. Israel fighting back, that is a military operation, no matter how anyone feels about any tactic or step in the war or whatever. Last year, I shared with you a speech that I gave on the first anniversary of these massacres. Here is something I said there.
There's been a war since. I want you all to know something. As part of my journalism, I spent time in Nuremberg, and I stood where the Allied bombs fell. And when I was standing there, I imagined a beautiful Aryan child, 3 years old maybe, looking to the sky and seeing bombs fall, and that being the last thing this Aryan child ever saw. It is sick and depraved what humanity does. It's so awful. And none of that makes what the Allied forces did anything less than heroic. They were fighting against Nazism. They were responding to this horror. In my work as a journalist, I have covered death tolls and tried to fact check death tolls in wars all over the world. Wars with hundreds of thousands of civilian deaths in just the past 5 years, and some of them still raging right now. You don't hear about it. But what do you hear? Big bad Israel, big bad Jew.
October 7th was not just an attack on Israel by a group. It was an act to advance the biggest threat to democracies on earth, Islamist terrorism. Empires are the norm in history. Democracies are fragile and take work. Democracies are under threat from within and externally. Just as right-wing media downplay the threat within from Trumpism, the mainstream media downplay the threat of Islamist terrorism. As long as the media keeps doing this, people will keep getting radicalized in both directions, pushed to the far left or the far right, which, as the horseshoe theory shows, are very, very similar. We have to fight back. The way to do that is to spread truth. In Israel, I asked people, how can I help? And they all have the same answer. Just get the truth out there. That's all they want. That change is desperately needed. It starts small, but it grows. You can help. Share this episode, this show, the newsletter. Every time you do that, it's like planting a seed. And the more you do, the more you help it grow. In every generation, people have to fight for the truth. This is our fight right now. People gave their lives on October 7th for the desire to build and defend a democracy and the one safe place in which this teeny tiny group of people can fight for its own existence to survive. They were fighting for what's called in Hebrew tikkun olam, building a better world. The best way I know how to do that is to never give up the fight to de-radicalize the world by introducing people to facts. As always, I would love to hear from all of you with your thoughts. There are 2 great ways to reach me. The best is through the newsletter, and the other way is through a forum at my website. And one happy note now for anyone listening who is part of the people of Judea, people of Israel, Jewish people. There is a really cool thing that is being created. It's called the World's Oldest Book Club. They have partnered with me for a brief time. It's awesome. I have signed up for it, and I encourage you to as well, and that'll help the show too. Hey, some of you have told me you wish the show was longer. This week you got your wish. To everyone fighting the good fight, big love and thank you. I will see you next week.